What you're about to hear was recorded on a Ring doorbell camera at exactly 11:47 p.m. Listen carefully. The woman who answered that door would be dead within 20 minutes. But here's what will send chills down your spine. She knew her killer was coming. She had received an email just 17 minutes earlier that simply read, "I'm outside. We need to talk. Open the door." What happened next would expose a web of obsession so twisted, so calculated, that it would change how an entire community viewed the dangers of saying no to the wrong person. This is the story of Maya Patel, a successful, independent woman whose only crime was rejecting a man who refused to accept rejection. A man who had been watching her every move, planning this moment for months, waiting for the perfect opportunity to make her pay the ultimate price for her independence. But what the killer didn't know was that Maya had been documenting everything. Every threat, every appearance at her workplace, every violation of the restraining order she had filed. What he also didn't know was that Maya's neighbor had just installed a new security system that would capture everything, including the moment he realized he had made a fatal mistake. This case will make you question everyone around you, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why Maya's story became the catalyst for changing stalking laws across the entire country. Detective Amanda Torres had seen her share of domestic violence cases, but nothing could have prepared her for the call that came in at 12:23 a.m. on October 15th. The hysterical neighbor, Janet Morrison, could barely speak between her sobs. There was screaming, so much screaming, and then it just stopped. The silence was worse than the screams. When officers arrived at 1847 Maple Drive, they found something that would haunt them forever. The front door wasn't just unlocked, it was wide open, as if the killer wanted to make a statement. Inside, the scene told a story of absolute terror. The living room was a war zone. Furniture had been violently overturned, family photos lay scattered across the hardwood floor, and there were clear drag marks leading from the living room toward the kitchen. But it was what investigators found in the kitchen that would make this case unforgettable. Maya Patel, 28 years old, lay motionless on the ceramic tile floor. Her phone was still clutched in her right.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
Hand with 911 displayed on the screen, she had tried to call for help but never got the chance to press send. She had been brutally attacked with her own kitchen knife, suffering 7 stab wounds to her chest and abdomen. But here's what made this crime scene truly chilling. Maya had fought back with everything she had. The medical examiner would later confirm that she had inflicted significant injuries on her attacker. There was blood evidence suggesting her killer had been seriously wounded, yet somehow managed to clean up most traces before fleeing. Paramedics rushed Maya to Memorial Hospital, but despite their heroic efforts, she was pronounced dead at 1:15 a.m. The last thing she had tried to do was text her best friend Ashley Kim a message that would later become crucial evidence. "He's here. Call the police." The message was never sent. Lead Detective Mike Rodriguez knew immediately this wasn't a random break-in. The attack was too personal, too methodical, and filled with a rage that suggested intimate knowledge of the victim. But what they discovered next would reveal the true scope of this predator's obsession. The killer had entered through the front door without any signs of forced entry, meaning Maya had willingly let her murderer inside. But the security system told a more sinister story. It had been disarmed from the inside at 11:52 p.m., exactly 5 minutes after the neighbor's camera captured the mysterious figure approaching the house. This wasn't just someone who knew Maya's security code. This was someone who had studied her routines, her habits, her vulnerabilities. Someone who had been planning this moment for months. Maya's laptop sat open on her dining room table, displaying her email inbox like a digital crime scene. The most recent message, timestamped at 11:30 p.m., was from TB, just 17 minutes before the attack began. The message was brief but absolutely chilling. "I'm outside. We need to talk. Open the door." But investigators found something even more disturbing. Hidden in Maya's email trash folder were dozens of deleted messages from the same sender, dating back 6 months. Messages that revealed the true extent of this predator's psychological warfare. "You can't hide from me, Maya. I know your schedule better than you do. I saw you with him today. You're making a mistake. I'm the only one who truly understands you. Soon you'll see that. Each message was more possessive, more threatening than the last. Maya had been living in fear for months, and now investigators understood why. To understand who would want to hurt Maya, investigators dove deep into her personal life. By all accounts, she was a beloved member of her community. Her colleagues at Pinnacle Marketing described her as ambitious, kind-hearted, and always willing to help others. Maya had moved to the quiet suburb of Riverside 2 years earlier after landing her dream job. She lived alone in the charming 2-bedroom house she had purchased with her savings, proud of her independence and success. But as detectives interviewed her friends and family, a troubling pattern began to emerge. For the past 6 months, Maya had been dealing with what she described as a persistent admirer who wouldn't take no for an answer. Her best friend, Ashley Kim, revealed that Maya had been receiving unwanted gifts, flowers, and messages from someone she had briefly dated. She was scared, Ashley told investigators. She said he would show up at her work, her gym, even her grocery store. It was like he was following her everywhere. The mysterious TB from the emails was Tyler Brooks, a 31-year-old software engineer whose outward appearance of normalcy masked a dangerous obsession with control and possession. Tyler worked at TechFlow Solutions, a startup downtown where colleagues described him as quiet, competent, but oddly intense about personal relationships. He had no criminal record, lived alone in a well-maintained apartment, and to most people seemed like an ordinary, if somewhat socially awkward, professional. But Maya's experience with Tyler revealed his true nature. They had met through a dating app called Connect Heart in April, and their first few dates seemed promising. Tyler was charming, attentive, and seemed genuinely interested in Maya's career and ambitions. However, Maya quickly noticed red flags that would prove to be deadly warnings. Tyler would show up at restaurants where she was having dinner with friends, always claiming it was a coincidence. He would text her constantly throughout the day, becoming agitated if she didn't respond within minutes. Most disturbing, he began making comments about her clothing choices, her male coworkers, and even her family relationships. After 3 weeks of increasingly uncomfortable interactions, Maya made the decision that would ultimately cost her life. She ended their relationship. I told him I didn't think we were compatible and that I wanted to focus on my career, Maya had confided to Ashley. His reaction was scary. He didn't get angry or sad like a normal person. He just stared at me with this cold expression and said, "You don't mean that. You'll change your mind." What Tyler Brooks did to Maya Patel over the next 6 months wasn't just stalking, it was psychological warfare designed to break down her defenses and force her into submission. The harassment began within 24 hours of their breakup. Maya woke up to find her car covered in sticky notes with messages like, "I miss you," and "Please give us another chance." When she ignored these gestures, Tyler's tactics became more invasive. He began showing up at Maya's workplace, initially claiming he was just in the neighborhood. Security footage would later reveal that Tyler had been surveilling Pinnacle Marketing for weeks, learning Maya's schedule, documenting her lunch breaks, and even following her coworkers to learn more about her personal life. Maya's colleague Jennifer Walsh later testified, "It started feeling like we were all being watched. This guy would sit in his car across the street from our office for hours. When I walked to the parking garage, I would see him following behind me at a distance. It was like he was studying all of us to get closer to Maya." But Tyler's most chilling tactic was his ability to appear wherever Maya went. She would go to her regular yoga class and find him in the parking lot. She would meet Ashley for dinner and Tyler would show up at the same restaurant. She would go grocery shopping and find him in the same aisles, always claiming it was just a coincidence. "He was everywhere," Ashley recalled. Maya couldn't go anywhere without seeing him. She started having panic attacks because she felt like she had no safe spaces left. The situation escalated dramatically when Tyler began infiltrating Maya's personal relationships. He created fake social media profiles to befriend her family members and learn intimate details about her life. He researched her ex-boyfriends and began contacting them, claiming to be concerned about Maya's mental health. Most disturbing, Tyler had somehow obtained Maya's work schedule, her gym membership information, and even her medical appointments. Maya discovered he had been calling her doctor's office, claiming to be her boyfriend and asking about her prescriptions. It was like he was trying to take over my entire life, Maya had told Ashley just weeks before her death. I felt like I was disappearing, and he was replacing me with some version of myself that only existed in his head. When detectives brought Tyler in for questioning, he appeared calm and collected, almost unnaturally so for someone whose alleged victim had just been murdered. Detective Rodriguez noted Tyler's pristine appearance and lack of visible injuries, despite the evidence suggesting Maya had fought back violently. "I was home all night," Tyler insisted, maintaining direct eye contact with the investigators. "I was working on a coding project. I have timestamps on my computer files to prove it." But when detectives examined Tyler's alibi more closely, cracks began to appear. His computer activity showed he had been working until 11:15 p.m., then suddenly stopped. Security footage from his apartment building showed him leaving through a side exit at 11:22 p.m., avoiding the main entrance where cameras would have captured a clearer image. More damning was the discovery of Tyler's phone records. Despite claiming he was home working, his phone had pinged cell towers along the route to Maya's house between 11:25 p.m. and 12:45 a.m. The forensics team made several breakthrough discoveries that would prove crucial to the case. DNA evidence found under Maya's fingernails matched Tyler's genetic profile. Additionally, fibers from Tyler's distinctive black wool sweater were discovered on Maya's clothing and furniture. Perhaps most compelling was the murder weapon itself. The kitchen knife used in the attack belonged to Maya, but investigators found something peculiar. Tyler's fingerprints were on the knife handle, but they were underneath Maya's prints, suggesting he had handled the weapon before the struggle began. This discovery supported the prosecution's theory that Tyler had armed himself immediately upon entering Maya's home, indicating premeditation rather than a crime of passion. Maya's phone and computer revealed a disturbing pattern of harassment that painted a clear picture of Tyler's obsessive behavior. In the weeks leading up to her death, he had sent over 200 text messages, many of which became increasingly threatening when she didn't respond. One particularly chilling message, sent just 3 days before the murder, read, "You can't ignore me forever, Maya. I know where you live, where you work, where you shop. We're meant to be together, and I won't let anyone else have you." Security footage from Maya's workplace showed Tyler lurking in the parking garage on multiple occasions, clearly stalking her movements. Her co-workers confirmed they had seen him following her from the building, prompting Maya to start varying her routes home. Tyler Brooks was charged with first-degree murder, stalking, and violating a restraining order. The trial began 8 months after Maya's death, with her family and friends filling the courthouse gallery, desperate for justice. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Maria Santos, presented a methodical case built on overwhelming evidence. They argued that Tyler had become obsessed with Maya after she rejected him, and that his behavior had escalated from harassment to murder when he realized he couldn't control her. Tyler Brooks couldn't accept that Maya Patel was a strong, independent woman who had the right to say no, Santos told the jury during opening statements. When she refused to be his victim through intimidation, he made the ultimate decision to take her life. The defense, headed by attorney Robert Chin, attempted to paint Tyler as a lonely, misunderstood man who had been unfairly demonized. They argued that the evidence was circumstantial and that Tyler's presence at Maya's house that night was simply an attempt to reconcile their differences. "My client is guilty of poor judgment and perhaps being too persistent in his affections," Chin argued. "But being socially awkward and romantic to a fault does not make someone a murderer." Ashley Kim's testimony proved to be one of the most powerful moments of the trial. Fighting back tears, she described how Maya had become increasingly fearful in the weeks before her death. She installed new locks, changed her phone number twice, and even considered moving to a different city, Ashley testified. "Maya told me she felt like she was living in a prison because of Tyler's constant harassment. She was terrified of him." The prosecution also called Maya's co-workers, who testified about Tyler's threatening behavior at her workplace. Security guard James Martinez described how Tyler had attempted to force his way into the building on multiple occasions, becoming agitated when denied access. He would pace back and forth in the parking garage for hours, Martinez testified. When I approached him, he would claim he was waiting for Maya, but she had already left through a different exit. His behavior was definitely concerning. Tyler's carefully constructed alibi fell apart when digital forensics experts testified about his computer activity. While Tyler claimed he was working on a coding project all night, the experts revealed that his computer had been set to automatically save files at regular intervals, creating false timestamps. The defendant essentially created a digital decoy, explained forensics expert Dr. Sarah Kim. He programmed his computer to make it appear he was actively working when he was actually at the victim's house. The defense's final blow came when prosecutors revealed Tyler's internet search history. In the days leading up to Maya's murder, he had researched topics including how to disable home security systems, how long does DNA evidence last, and most disturbing, how to make a murder look like self-defense. After deliberating for 6 hours, the jury returned with their verdict. Tyler Brooks was found guilty on all charges: first-degree murder, stalking, and violating a restraining order. The courtroom erupted in a mixture of relief and grief as Maya's family finally heard the words they had been waiting for. Her parents, Raj and Priya Patel, embraced each other as tears streamed down their faces. 2 months later, Tyler Brooks was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Judge Patricia Williams delivered a scathing rebuke during sentencing, addressing the broader issue of stalking and domestic violence. This case represents the deadly consequences of treating women as objects to be possessed rather than human beings with agency, Judge Williams stated. Tyler Brooks' actions were not those of a romantic suitor, but of a predator who escalated his behavior to the ultimate act of control, murder. Maya's family established the Maya Patel Foundation, dedicated to supporting stalking victims and advocating for stronger legal protections. The foundation has helped pass legislation requiring GPS monitoring for repeat restraining order violators and funding for victim safety programs. Maya Patel's story isn't just another true crime case. It's a wake-up call that could save lives right now. As you've been watching this video, someone in your city, maybe even in your neighborhood, is living through the same terror Maya experienced. Here's what I need you to do after watching this video. First, if you recognize any of the warning signs we discussed in someone you know, excessive texting, showing up uninvited, monitoring social media obsessively, making threats when rejected, don't dismiss it as romantic persistence. These are red flags of dangerous obsession, and they can escalate to violence. Second, share this video. Not for views or likes, but because Maya's story could literally save someone's life. The more people who understand the reality of stalking behavior, the more potential victims we can help identify and protect. Third, know the resources. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. They have trained counselors available 24/7 who understand stalking cases and can provide immediate safety planning. They also have a website with chat support for those who can't safely make phone calls. Fourth, if you're in law enforcement or work in the legal system, Maya's case should fundamentally change how you handle stalking reports. 7 restraining order violations in 2 weeks should never be treated as minor infractions. These are warning signs of impending violence. Finally, I want you to remember Maya not as a victim, but as a fighter. She documented everything, she followed legal procedures, she fought back with everything she had. She did everything right, but the system failed her. We owe it to her memory to make sure that system works better for the next Maya Patel. Maya's parents established the Maya Patel Foundation, and they've helped change stalking laws in 12 states since her death. But there's still work to be done. If this case affected you, if it opened your eyes to the reality of stalking, if it made you think differently about the word no, then Maya's death wasn't meaningless. Her story is still saving lives, and it can save more with your help. Hit that like button if you believe stalking victims deserve better protection. Subscribe if you want to see more cases that expose the failures in our system. And share this video because somewhere out there is another Maya who needs to know she's not alone. The comments section is open for your thoughts, but I want you to be respectful. Real families are impacted by these stories, and Maya's parents still read comments about their daughter's case. Until next time, trust your instincts, take threats seriously, and remember, saying no is not negotiable. It's a complete sentence, and anyone who won't accept it is showing you exactly who they are. Stay safe out there.